Hello and welcome to another edition of the Dhabas of Democracy, our election road trip that began in Kanyakumari and it's making its way to Kashmir. I can tell you it's really hot, both the political heat and the actual weather. I'm coming to you live from Gujarat. And while I'm on the Prime Minister and the Home Minister's turf, we're going to be talking about the Congress's fate, both its present and its future, and it's a very, very critical decision that it has taken in Amethi and Rae Bareli that is still being debated all across India. I'm Barkha Dutt, you're with the Mojo story. We are continuing our deep dive into the larger ramifications of the decision that has been taken by the Congress to field Rahul Gandhi from his mother's erstwhile constituency of Rae Bareli. Priyanka Gandhi, as was rumored, is not going to be taking the plunge, nor is her husband Robert Vadra, and no, nor is their estranged cousin Varun Gandhi. Instead, in Amethi, it seems to be a walkover by some accounts for Smriti Irani, who had been daring Rahul Gandhi to contest from the seat. KL Sharma, an old family associate, a veteran Congress worker, is the Congress candidate from Amethi. Now, let's be very clear. What happens in Amethi and what happens in Rae Bareli isn't like Vegas. It doesn't just stay there. It has larger implications for all of India. It has a larger political message. The Prime Minister has wasted no time in mocking the Congress, especially for Rahul Gandhi's comments, where he said, "Daro mat," about those who were leaving the Congress and joining the BJP. Now, this edition of the Dhabas of Democracy is a special for our members. If you are not a member of the Mojo community, do become one right now. The link is right here. You can click it and become a member. Not just will you be powering our storytelling, you will also get a chance to talk directly to me and our newsmakers and our panelists on the program today. So today we have somebody who's a very, very articulate, fiercely individualistic supporter of the Congress. The Congress suspended him as spokesperson, but that hasn't stopped him from going on championing their cause, but sometimes with informed criticism. And our members can put any question that you want to our guest today. Let me bring him up. Sanjay Jha is with us, and Sanjay has consented to do an AMA and ask me anything. And I can vouch for the fact that even when I disagree with Sanjay, he's very democratic in that way. He takes criticism on his chin. He takes some very tough questions from me, and I'm sure he'll be taking some very tough questions from all of you as well. So this is a special for our members today, and I'm going to start taking your questions shortly, but I get one question, moderator's privilege of my own. Even Gary Kasparov, the chess giant, has now walked into the debate around Rae Bareli. It is absolutely hilarious. He was obviously referring to Rahul Gandhi's video on how he loves playing chess and how he thinks he's the best chess player among politicians. And he's saying first win Rae Bareli. Why Sanjay? Why Rae Bareli? Why not Amethi? In our podcast, you said one of the faults of Rahul Gandhi is that nobody around him told him the truth. Have we seen a version of that play out in Uttar Pradesh?
No, I think Barkha, even I have been a decent club level chess player, and I remember always knowing that if you are playing white, you get the chance to make the first move. I think where the Amethi decision is concerned, my feeling, Barkha, is that Rahul Gandhi has actually taken the call, and I'm sure it's not just his call. It's with consultation with Priyanka and Mrs. Gandhi and other members of the Congress think tank, because they believe that in trying to get into this Amethi battle with Smriti Irani, will that take away from the fire and brimstone that has been exchanged between Mr. Modi and Rahul Gandhi? Because I think the Congress believes that end of day the issues are at the forefront. The manifesto, the talk about change, focusing on the common man's issues are really what should be the predominant narrative. And if it becomes into a slanging tutu mein match with Smriti Irani, who, by the way, let us be very honest about it, she's remarkably savvy in terms of the way she can do these verbal volleys. Will that be at the detriment of taking away from the meat and potatoes of this entire campaign? So I think the larger story seems to be, obviously we can get into the numbers, that in Amethi you have got 3 BJP MLAs from the constituency and 2 from Samajwadi Party. And in Rae Bareli last time, the Congress had a fairly emphatic victory of Mrs. Gandhi with around a lakh and 60 odd thousand votes. And in Amethi, Rahul lost by around 55,000 votes. So there is a statistical reality that you can't really ignore. But I think the larger game plan seems to be that do not give any theatrical or a reality TV flavor to the campaign, which will take away from the gravitas that the Congress believes it has been successful in keeping the campaign so far. And with just another 4 weeks to go, they wouldn't like any kind of distraction. The only thing that I would worry about at this stage is it keeps Priyanka Gandhi out of the electoral race, which I think is very critical for the Congress to convert that asset into a meaningful voice in Parliament.
So, on that note, I'm going to kind of hold back some of my own questions and start taking questions from our members. We have Saurabh Vishisht asking Priyanka Gandhi will not be taken seriously by her voters unless she contests. This 1 foot indoor, 1 foot out is pointless. Surely she doesn't want to contest first election post the age of 60.
Absolutely. I think Priyanka, I have always said that, Barkha, and I will agree with Saurabh. She's a phenomenally strong asset that the Congress has not leveraged intelligently. The way she was launched in the 2019 Lok Sabha campaign in Uttar Pradesh, I thought was a recipe for a clear disaster because you were throwing her into a snake pit. But as she has emerged, if you look at her campaigning today, she's taking on Modi on the whole issue of Mangal Sutra. I thought the way she actually talked with a great deal of nostalgia and personal emotional pain about the death of her father. I think these are things that resonate with voters. And I personally feel that in Priyanka staying away from the electoral contest, I think it takes away a lot of shall we say intensity that the Congress could have brought into the campaign.
So, do you then make the argument that the main reason that the Amethi sort of Amethi vacuum has been created is because they did not want to give Smriti Irani the satisfaction, they didn't want to give the media the satisfaction, or do you think that there was a fear of loss as well?
Well, I can tell you, if you look at the numbers, there is a definite worry in Amethi. One, because there are three BJP MLAs there and two from Samajwadi Party. But we have to remember that in this election, there would be transfer of some Samajwadi Party votes to the Indian National Congress. But however, there is yet a fundamental challenge, which would be that Smriti Irani would have over 5 years, you would assume, create a certain affinity with the people. I mean, there are people who benefit, right? When you have a Lok Sabha MP who spends their resources. And, I think the BJP is particularly smart in investing in a constituency, which is why they don't allow an anti-incumbency to build in. So there must be some worry on that account as well. But I think the prime reason or the principal motivating factor for Rahul to back away from the contest, because from a pure optics point of view, Rahul taking on Smriti Irani made great sense. But there is also the other part, which is the practical, real politic, which is that would it give an advantage to the BJP to say that, listen, he takes on Modi, but first let him beat Smriti Irani at the ground level?
I have another question. Sanjay, from one of our members, Srinivas Iyer. Should Rahul Gandhi contest a second seat, given that he's most likely winning Wayanad? What message does this send to the voters in Wayanad? Now, this is a very genuine question, not because Rahul Gandhi is the first politician to contest two elections, but because imagine for a moment he wins Rae Bareli. Imagine then he leaves Rae Bareli, then he goes to Wayanad, or he leaves Wayanad, he comes to Rae Bareli. And let's say if he leaves Rae Bareli, then we're back to square one. Who's going to contest from Rae Bareli? I mean, how do you see this playing out?
You in politics, Barkha, I always believe that you got to bat on the front foot. I think Mr. Iyer's question is valid, that whatever you do in politics, you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. If Rahul had not contested from Amethi or Rae Bareli, the BJP would say he's completely chickened out and, he's not got any interest in the Hindi heartland. If you look at the BJP's campaign, Barkha, very often they pick out some quotes of his to say that he believes that southern India is more important or they're more educated than northern India, blah, 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 which may be in a totally different context. I feel that Rahul Gandhi had one choice, though, is to publicly say that, listen, I'm staying with Wayanad. I'm taking a risk. If I lose, I'm out of parliament. I'm confident of winning. And let Priyanka fight from Rae Bareli. And then you could have had somebody totally new from Amethi. It need not have been Kishori ji, it could have been somebody else, but you put up a powerful heavyweight candidate against Smriti Irani in Amethi. That was an option. But in politics, you can't fight a campaign worrying about what the opponent will say. In fact, if you're worried about that, then your campaign should be, I'm taking this decision. this is what BJP will say or Modi will say, but this is what I'm going to say when they say it. So, there has to be a little bit of a communication strategy that you can't get nervous. You got to be batting fairly aggressively and not be kind of played out by the opposition.
Rajdeep Sarkar has a question. Sanjay Jha always speaks straight to the point without confabulation. This made him an enemy of the Congress think tank, but I appreciate him for speaking the truth. So, mild segue out of Amethi and Rae Bareli. Sanjay, you've been punished for speaking the truth. Not enough people are speaking the truth about the Gandhis. That's what you said in our podcast. Is that still happening? Do you see any change, or is that still happening?
What I do believe that I think at the end of the day, the Congress has moved on from its very ostrich-like and fairly lackadaisical approach to national politics that I saw after 2019. I see a greater degree of energy. The Bharat Jodo Yatra has clearly energized not just the top leadership, but even the cadres, which is the most important thing in my opinion. And I think let me add this point, and thank you very much for that sweet compliment. But ultimately, I think the Congress Party needs to not just be a relevant force in Indian politics. It actually has governed the country, so it has to look at itself as an alternative to whichever government is in power. And I do see at the moment a certain resolution, a determination to push back. I hope the Congress Party succeeds. And personally, on this issue of Rae Bareli and Amethi, I want to repeat that point. I would have liked Rahul Gandhi to take Smriti Irani head on. I've written that in an article in the Indian Express. I'm not going to backtrack on that at all. I would have liked Priyanka to contest from Rae Bareli. The two of them in battle together in the Hindi heartland of Uttar Pradesh. And I would tell you that Narendra Modi would go campaigning against both of them. It would have made not just for good optics, but also a message to the people of India that the Gandhis are extremely serious about biting the bullet and taking the bull by the horns. Nevertheless, it does not mean that you can't still turn the story around.
But you know what? This takes us to the next question, also from Saurabh. Surely any serious politician should have enough perspective to know what's in politics. This defense of Congress that the king doesn't listen to the right advisors shifts blame from the king. And the reason I think it's an important question is because the Congress party, Mr. Kharge, Jairam Ramesh, they were on record saying, like you, we would like both Rahul and Priyanka to contest from both these seats. This means eventually the Gandhi family took a personal choice, not a party choice.
I personally completely agree with that. I mean, end of day, not just the constituency. I mean, they're a big influence on the party overall. And while it is easy to say that I will do whatever the party leadership wants me to do, I mean, the constituencies of Amethi and Rae Bareli are extraordinary. I mean, they have been the family bastions for decades. So you're talking about right from Firoz Gandhi in Rae Bareli down to Rajiv Gandhi and Sanjay Gandhi in Amethi. So yes, this is a personal decision. This obviously has been considered by them. I'm sure they have thought through all the nitty-gritties of it. I hope it works favorably. And the BJP will go after them hammer and tongs, undoubtedly. You haven't heard the conclusion yet. Mr. Modi is going to come to these constituencies and say, why did Rahul Gandhi run away? But you have to have your answers ready. I think in politics, it's not just about what you're going to say. You got to know what your opponent is going to say, and you got to have the answer ready to that. That's what the game of chess is all about, right? You make a move, and you're trapping your opponent. And then you say, if my opponent falls in this trap, this is what I'm going to do next. So really, it's an extension of that game that Gary Kasparov, Rahul Gandhi, and I love.
I mean, never in a million years would I have thought that Gary Kasparov would be commenting on Rae Bareli, but that is what makes Indian politics so delicious. Srinivas Iyer, is it fair to say that the Congress's first family has taken its family bastions for granted? Are we reaching a point where the electorate is actually beginning to detest the concept of family bastions? I think it's a great question. I think this idea of a family bastion is a very 1970s idea.
I think so. I think in a great number of ways, people do develop a certain, shall we say, relationship or an association where they win from. But Barkha, it's a double-sided, kind of sword, really. Because if you are winning from a place, you would never abandon that. So willy-nilly, it does become your bastion over a period of time. I mean, you have so many leaders even including Mr. Chidambaram, who's not fighting an election, who's won from his constituency for decades on end. So I think everyone at the end of the day, shall we say, develops one place where they have worked and they have worked with its people. And it becomes, in my opinion, a logical strength where you believe you can showcase to the world what I have done for the people. And unfortunately, in a democracy, you can't fight in 10 places. So, yes, I think it's good for the Gandhis, though, to break away and go to another part of the country. I do believe, therefore, that if Rahul had announced that I'm going to be in Wayanad, in Kerala, it not only brings the idea of India into play, right? That we shouldn't be talking about this north-south issue, which is going to be, by the way, a very polarizing element of conversation at some stage when the new government comes up. But there is a reality that is good to see a leader from the north being represented from Wayanad. Why not? Why not? I mean, George Fernandez was
So, so,
an
so,
MP
so,
from
so you're,
Muzaffarpur.
say- you're saying they should have either contested both or contested neither?
I personally feel that Rahul should have publicly said, I'm not contesting either Amethi or Rae Bareli. I'm going to be from Wayanad. Take the risk and be there. That's an emphatic statement. Nothing wrong with that at all.
I kind of agree, because this way you've got the Darpok tag, you've run away from Amethi, you've got the conundrum of what will happen if you win Amethi. You have
Yeah.
two sets of voters potentially upset with you, both Wayanad and Rae Bareli. It seems a bit
Yeah.
messy, and that takes us to another question. Patik Kandhari says, when you won only one seat in UP, he's talking about Rae Bareli, and the so-called leader takes it, is it a leader-like message? I think it's a great question. If you're going to say, hey, we left it for the party worker in Amethi, why haven't you left it for the party worker in Rae Bareli?
Yeah, that's again a very, very relevant question, because the party worker in this case is Kishori ji, who's actually been, like I've written in my article, a man Friday. He's brilliant in his administration of both the constituencies. He works remarkably hard. He's a 24 into 7 workaholic. But is he the man to represent Congress party in parliament? I would be circumspect in committing to that. But Barkha, here is the truth, right? The truth is that when it comes to the cadres and supporters at large, they love a battle royal. Everyone loves this big, titanic contest, and or at least, if nothing else, great atmospherics, great television, more cameras, more tutu memes. People want politainment in our lives today. So I think social media feeds love it. So I think at
Hang
the
on,
end
hang
of the
on,
day,
hang on, hang on. Explain this word, polytainment. Did you just
yeah, I said
manufacture that
it's
word?
a combination. It's a combination of politics and entertainment, right? And
It's a good
and
word. It's a
yeah,
good word.
yeah. I think at the end of the day, we have all become. If you look at it today, I find more people watching a news on elections than watching an IPL, unless it's the last 5 overs in an IPL match. That tells you the kind of drama that politicians create. The only thing left is an auction. But as we have seen, even politicians are auctioned in that Operation Lotus.
Well, I have to tell you, I'm in Bharuch, where the BJP has won every election since
Mm.
1989. This is Gujarat. This is Modi's home turf. This used to be Ahmed Patel's hometown, and his children wanted to contest. Keeping Dynasty aside, are you comfortable with this Kejriwal alliance? This seat has gone to the Aam Aadmi Party.
I feel that, Barkha, the Aam Aadmi Party and the Congress coming together in very extraordinary circumstances is actually a good thing for both. Because, this is for the Congress, is a return of the entire vote bank that deserted you for the Aam Aadmi Party. Everyone in the Aam Aadmi Party, the supporters who went to them, were all traditional Congress voters of the past. So here is a chance for the voters to again experience the Congress or the Congress's candidates. For the Aam Aadmi Party, it's also humbling in a way, in a positive way. That listen, the Congress did make mistakes, but at the end of the day, it's not as big a threat to your existential crisis as probably the BJP is. So there is a greater meeting of the minds as opposed to the breaking of heads.
One question says, irrespective of what one thinks of Smriti Irani, she's showed a lot of visible commitment to Amethi. She has a house. I mean, this I'm adding that unhone Greh Pravesh kiya. She's going to vote there. Rahul Gandhi almost went on a vanvas after the 2019 poll. Now, this is an important question. I think this sense of giving up on Amethi because you lost is poor optics.
See, Barkha, I mean, if Smriti Irani took a house there or went there 100 times, full credit to her. right? And that's what an MP ought to be doing. If somebody hasn't done it, well, they're bad. As far as Rahul is concerned, here is the reality. When we lost in 2019, Rahul spent a lot of time basically on the battle for who's going to be the next Congress president. There was a whole vacuum. He was under a lot of pressure. He was an MP from Wayanad. So I think the fair comparison will be, did he really do good for Wayanad? Did you really go to Wayanad very often? Because that's the constituency that voted you, right? So that becomes, frankly speaking, your first love, and you have to have your fidelity to that. So I think he's done a good job, which is why I think he's going to win from Wayanad hands down. But yeah, in his case, it's a peculiar circumstance because you can't abandon Amethi at all, because Amethi is where your baptism happened from, and you got your hat trick of wins. So it's not easy being Rahul Gandhi. Let me tell you that you are constantly under public scrutiny, and you have to do the balancing act well. I think Rahul has probably lost some time in between during the 2019 phase when the Congress went into this huge coma, not knowing what was going on, which was valuable time lost. But I do hope he's able to reclaim his ground soon.
Okay, will India Alliance cross 50 seats?
Oh, I'm very bullish. I think the India alliances, frankly speaking, in my opinion, and the estimations that I have with a few people I talk to very often, has probably crossed 100 already. Because please remember that in this, you are already talking of 39 from Tamil Nadu, and you're talking 20 from Kerala. I mean, the worst case estimate, they have crossed 50 in these two itself. So I think the India alliance probably is on a good wicket by the end of the second phase. But we'll have to see. I think every phase, Barkha, is going to be progressively more dynamic, because if the BJP is on the back foot, as a lot of people are assuming, it is going to fight tooth and nail to reclaim or hold on to its past successes so that it doesn't cede space. For the opposition, if it's got a tailwind, it needs to be even more aggressive and throw the whole 9 yards. You're likely to enter what I call is the business end of this entire election.
Smriti Irani works a lot, says Ayush on the ground. That's the reason Rahul ran away. You said that one of the reasons that the Congress did not put Rahul in Amethi was to avoid, or Priyanka in Amethi was to avoid the kind of media circus that would follow. Actually, the media narrative is going to be taken by the Prime Minister downwards. Everybody in the BJP, bhag gaye, bhag gaye, bhag gaye, right? Bhag Rahul, bhag. What's the Congress counter to that?
Well, I think ultimately the Congress's counter to that should be that, listen, we represent the people of this country. The constituency is one element of it. And when we are fighting this election, when I'm taking on, that's what the Rahul Gandhi should say, I'm fighting for every citizen of India. I'm fighting for everyone disempowered in India. I'm fighting for the youth, the farmers, the women of this country who deserve much better than what they have got. So I think at the end of the day, for Rahul Gandhi, it is important for the Congress and Jairam in particular to not fall for this BJP narrative that Rahul bolted away, because the simple answer to that will be he's still there. He's just adjoining to Amethi. And I can tell you that many families are spread across these two regions. And I remember when I visited Rae Bareli and Amethi. Of course, you knew where you were, but the stuff that we did, there were people from Rae Bareli and Amethi in Rae Bareli, because they were all almost common. Many of them were common talent. So here is a chance for Rahul to paint a national narrative and not allow it to become localized about a contest or a conflict with Smriti Irani.
Sorry, the Aman Bansal says, how will the Congress counter public tongues? Because they will say, people I meet in bus, I think he's trying to say colloquially that, if you run into someone in a bus, wo to yahi kahenge ki wo bhag gaya. So it's a bit of a repeat question, Sanjay, but hand on your heart, given that you wrote saying that they should contest both seats, are you disappointed as a Congress supporter?
Yeah, personally, I have been very upfront about that. I in fact, even messaged them both saying that contest it, you will win it. And my reason for that is Rae Bareli. I think definitely the Congress is a front runner. Even in Amethi, a lot of people who voted probably against him, or rather, remember one thing, Barkha, Rahul got more votes in 2019 than he got in 2014. It's a percentage that was lower. He got 46% in 2014. He got 43, and Smriti Irani's votes share went from 30 to somewhere around 45 or 46. So she basically also benefited, I think, from the entire narrative of hyper nationalism, following, Balakot and Pulwama, which I think helped BJP by around 4 or 5% across the country. I'm not saying that Smriti Irani may not have won despite that, but it definitely pushed her numbers up. I feel that Rahul Gandhi still, if he had contested in Amethi, I would have betted on him hands down. Even if Smriti Irani's done a good job, etc., the people of Amethi, by and large, having a huge emotional bond, which is rare in politics of the kind they have in Amethi and Rae Bareli, I think would have probably returned to him in many ways. I know people who told me that we voted for Smriti Irani, some of us, but we are more than happy to get Rahul Gandhi back as soon as
But,
possible.
but has the Congress been unfair to the India alliance? Because I want to throw some data at you. The Samajwadi Party, if you break down the Amethi constituency into assembly segments, if memory serves me right, the Samajwadi Party won 6 of the 10 assembly segments in this constituency. The Samajwadi Party could have said, if you're going to put KL Sharma, you may as well have given the seat to us. We would have put up a spirited battle against Smriti Irani. Is it fair to the India alliance?
Well, I think where the India alliance is concerned, firstly, I think when Akhilesh said Mehfil yahi jamegi, I really felt it would have been fantastic because Akhilesh himself is fighting from Kannauj, and you would have had the heavyweights of the India alliance in Uttar Pradesh. And you see what happens in Uttar Pradesh does have a not just a ripple effect, it is a multiplier effect across the country, which is why I wrote in my article that the impact actually spreads not just to the neighboring constituencies but across neighboring states. But now that the decision has been taken, we have to look at it as to what happens next. I think Akhilesh, this is part of the pre-election arrangement, right? That this is your stronghold where Lok Sabha is concerned. You take the call. By the way, even when the Gandhis won, it is in the assembly you have always had the Samajwadi and the BJP who have done better than the Congress. So the bottom line is you're absolutely right that the Samajwadi party is well represented in Rae Bareli. The BJP is a little ahead in the assembly. They have got 3, and I think Samajwadi has got 2. But I keep believing, Barkha, that go back to the 2009 Lok Sabha election results, where the Congress got 22 Lok Sabha seats in Uttar Pradesh. And the BJP was down, I think, to 10, if I'm not mistaken. So, end of day, the Congress should never forget that there is goodwill in many parts of Uttar Pradesh. And I do think that if they fight this election well, there are other places in Uttar Pradesh where they will be in very close contest with the BJP. But you don't have to abandon your situation in great haste.
One question seems to suggest that the Congress strategy may have been an attempt to cut Smriti Irani down to size because her stature in the BJP really increased after she defeated Rahul Gandhi. That's what Pathik Kandhari is.
Well, Barkha, that technically, I mean, that's already in her bio. I mean, defeating Rahul Gandhi in Amethi is going to be one of the glittering accolades of a political career. It's not an easy job. I mean, look at the people who lost for Amethi. It was Sanjay Gandhi during a very hostile, anti-emergency wave. And really, Satish Sharma lost, etc. But by and large, and until Rahul lost, nobody's lost from Amethi. So, end of day, it is a Herculean achievement and already in Smriti Irani's CV. And she is going to, kind of do the catwalk on that. And why not? She's a showstopper where that is concerned. But here is the story as far as I believe that Smriti Irani loves the contest because
I do have to disagree with the word catwalk there because you wouldn't have used it for a man. You wouldn't have used it for a man. I have to call that out. And the next question is actually about women. So let's be ungendered in our appraisal of politicians. But go ahead.
Yeah, no, my thing is that she's like a showstopper there. I mean, who could have really stopped the BJP, stopped Rahul Gandhi other than Smriti Irani? And full marks to her, actually, Barkha, for in 2014, she fought an election and she did not win that election. She, I think, got 30% of the votes, but she hung in there to come back and fight again. I have always believed that the BJP is extremely strong in terms of its resolve and determination to take on its opposition. And to that extent, you have to give them the brownie points for that.
And I do think that Smriti Irani is a polyglot. She speaks 8 different languages. She's got a lot going for her as a mass leader. So I do want to put that on record. Last question. We have time just for a couple more. Gaurav Chaudhary, मैं दुखी मन से ये प्रश्न पूछ रहा हूँ, कांग्रेस या बीजेपी को शर्म क्यों नहीं आती महिला सुरक्षा पर. And he goes on to say that the BJP on Brij Bhushan and the Congress on and the opposition on Sandesh Khali are two sides of the same coin. Your response?
I just believe that on Brij Bhushan Singh Barkha, um, the BJP has a lot to answer for. I mean, they have given a ticket to Karan Bhushan Singh, who happens to be the son of Brij Bhushan Singh. And I think it basically puts BJP on a very embarrassing situation, but they're very thick skinned about it. I mean, Parivarwad, I think that falls flat. That is the ultimate example of how hard they are pushing on dynastic politics. And let us not even talk about the issue of sexual harassment. But as far as Sandesh Khali is concerned, I don't know what I'm reading today, but I believe the TMC is coming out with a pretty very critical press conference in a couple of hours where they are likely to come up with a sting operation. Either way, even if that sting operation is there or not, there is no duplicitousness there. I think the Congress party has called out, the whole issue in Karnataka in a vocal way, and they're right about it. The BJP was aware, but they campaigned for the gentleman, which I think is appalling and it should leave anybody aghast. But I do feel the bottom line is that in this election, the issue of women voters is going to be a very critical one.
But Sanjay, do you not think that Smriti Irani has been at the receiving end of some awful misogyny as well by the Congress, by those who don't like the BJP? And some comments in the audience, like me, did not like the fact that you used the word catwalk. So I'm going to really ask you to take that word back.
Yeah, absolutely. I meant it.
Okay.
Frankly speaking, I meant it from the point of view that end of day, she is a showstopper. That's the point I'm trying to make for
A
the
political
BJP.
showstopper. A political
Political,
showstopper.
yeah, political
Yeah.
showstopper. Because let me tell you, in the last Lok Sabha election, she was, frankly speaking, in my opinion, the most prominent face because she humbled the man who many people believed was the prime ministerial face of the opposition campaign, or definitely of the Congress party, and that is a huge achievement. It's like somebody defeating Narendra Modi today in Varanasi.
Okay, and Aman Bansal in fact says Smriti Irani's political relevance is that she defeated Rahul in his own family bastion. Last word to you. What are the X factors? We're about to hit the third phase. When you look ahead, what are the X factors? What are the hits and misses on both sides of the campaign?
I feel that the BJP probably was very arrogant in believing that the Pran Pratishtha was where the campaign was done and dusted, or 2024 was already won. The arrogance of the BJP in arresting Arvind Kejriwal, or for that matter, kind of hounding the opposition, freezing the Congress bank accounts, was an extremely poor and crude taste of authoritarianism. I think that is boomeranged against the BJP. As far as the BJP is concerned, the other big miss is that the Prime Minister has been forced actually to go ahead and indulge in a very blatantly brazen, communal, and provocative speeches, which has got him EC notice on hate speech. As far as the opposition is concerned, I believe the biggest miss has been that they did not get their act together a little earlier, but better late than never. As far as the second part is concerned, I do feel that somewhere down the line, the factor that I think the Congress should have leveraged a lot more is the fact that it has in its talent bank enough people to make up for the talent that has been lost. It should have galvanized its cadres a lot more, because after the Bharat Jodo Nyaya Yatra, you felt an energy, a certain brio at the ground level. Don't let the negativity seep in that, this is an alliance that is struggling to catch up. I think it's very important to sound it out very early that you are in the game. Therefore, I think Rahul Gandhi has been saying that the BJP will get 150 seats
But
and
there's
trying
one.
to
But there's
repeat that.
one. But there's one question, Sanjay. What's khata khat garibi dur hogi by Rahul? What does it mean?
Well, it just means that the Congress party is going to ensure, one, that by giving women in the Mahalakshmi scheme, you'll give them 1 lakh. The fact that you'll give the unemployed, you'll give them 1 lakh. The fact that the farmers will get an MSP. The fact that at the end of the day, the minimum wage has gone up to 400. The khata khat is basically saying that we will ensure that you get cash on hand, which the BJP has not done. The BJP has largely focused on, saying that we will give you growth, which hasn't happened, because if that had happened, you wouldn't have record unemployment, you wouldn't have high inflation, you wouldn't have farmers on the streets for the second time, and definitely the poverty levels would not be such that you have to give 5 kilo of food grains for 5 years to 60% of India's population.
Okay, Sanjay, we leave it there. We could carry on endlessly, but it's hot. You have to get on with life, and I have to get on with work. Thank you so much for taking all
Thank
questions,
you.
including criticism, as from me and others, which comes your way sometimes on the chin, and always smiling at the end of it all. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much for being a
Thank
good
you.
sport.
Thank you.
Gary Kasparov would approve.
Game set, or shall we say, not game set and match, but checkmate.
Take care, Sanjay. Thanks for
Bye.
joining us. And that brings us to the close of another edition of Dhabas of Democracy. I hope you've been following our journey with us from Kanyakumari to Kashmir. It's really bloody hot. And it takes a lot of effort by our team to do this journey. So we hope you'll support us. Become a Mojo member if you haven't already. The link is right there. And you'll have a chance to ask all of our guests questions, also talk to me directly, and also be published on our platforms. Thank you for watching. See you soon. We're at the Indian mainland's southernmost tip in Kanyakumari, the confluence of the Bay of Bengal, the Arabian Sea, and the Indian Ocean. It is from here that we're beginning our big road trip to the heart and the soul of India, Dhabas of Democracy. That's all about traveling thousands of kilometers to look at the food, the fun, the festivity, the flavors of this election, but also, of course, to tell the stories of you the people, of we the people. At Mojo Story, we have always gone to where the story is. It could be the battlefields of Israel and Gaza, it could be the conflict zone of Manipur, or it could be the sorrow and the tragedy of COVID. We think of all of you as members of our community, of our family. So, I'm urging you and requesting you today to help us tell your stories and our stories. So do become a Mojo member. Support and power our storytelling, but also get first access to our big interviews, our special ground reports, our town halls, and also have the opportunity to ask our newsmakers questions directly, as well as get published on our platform. Become a Mojo member. Click on the link